Thomas Church, Fifth Avenue. How many of you never been to St. Thomas, Fifth Avenue before? Just put your hands up. Okay, crowd of you have. You must come back and see our beautiful church. I'm delighted to welcome you to St. Thomas. This project is the fruit of many years of work.
At least two.
At least 2 years of work. It's now completed, and it's a joy to see the art installation here at St. Thomas Church. Betsy has worked tirelessly and with little, if any, financial remuneration.
That's true.
More than that, shush, if you're going to interrupt me all the way, I'll interrupt you. But more than that, taking on this large project, she's denied the chance to complete many potential commissions. It's a sacrificial gesture and one that comes from the heart because of her commitment for the telling of these stories at a time when others would want to silence them. I think it's significant that we open this installation on the weekend before the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and celebrate MLK Day. In his 1957 speech, Birth of a New Nation, Dr. King said these words: "The aftermath of non-violence is the creation of the beloved community. The aftermath of non-violence is redemption. The aftermath of non-violence is reconciliation. The aftermath of violence is emptiness and bitterness." Reconciliation can only begin when we tackle those feelings of emptiness and bitterness that so many people feel and acknowledge what has happened to cause the enmity in the first place. So here's an example. It was at the heart of Archbishop Desmond Tutu's plan following the end of apartheid in South Africa. Not arrests, not recrimination, not revenge, but paradoxically what he called Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Tutu was attempting to build the beloved community. To build a beloved community requires first a reflection on the brokenness of community, the brokenness of humanity, and then even the brokenness of the churches. That in spite of great technological and medical advances, violence is still the preferred way for many in our world. Division is preferred. To build a beloved community requires us to look deep into our own brokenness and to reach out to God for help. And to build a beloved community is a process and not an end in itself, for we are required, as Dr. King knew only too well, to take to heart the challenge of Jesus Christ, which to many in our world seems like a contradiction. What you see here in these portraits is an artistic interpretation of building the beloved community. Betsy, we're glad that you brought these portraits into this place, but that you brought these portraits together into one place, because you remind us that we can be community, we can be beloved, and that we need one another. You may come from different traditions, you may come from different faiths, or you may say that you have no faith, but you can have faith in the beloved community. Here's some words from my own tradition, the Christian tradition. Jesus said, "I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, don't ask for them again." And this is the best bit. "Do to others as you would have them do to you." Betsy, thank you for your vision and for your passion, and thank you for helping us to hear these stories.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Father Turner. Thank you for inviting me to show these in this magnificent room, in this wonderful place, this oasis, this spiritual oasis in the middle of Manhattan, an otherwise rather crazy city, but a wonderful city. And it's very appropriate that this project be launched here. And I say launch because this is designed as a traveling exhibition. This is designed, and it is traveling, by the way. On March 6th, it's going up to the Riverside Church, up near Columbia, and it'll be there through April 22nd. And after that, while we haven't got the schedule laid out as yet, I just heard that the Museum of the Underground Railway in Cincinnati wants it. They're going to be scheduling with me, and there's a church in Indianapolis that is talking to me. There's a possibility there are many other places. And the idea, when I have time to stop doing this, I can actually sit down and start planning, the next phase. But it's designed to travel. But why should it start here? It should start here because it did start here. I was actually sitting in a pew downstairs on a Sunday morning, attending the Mass, which this church does beautifully, I might add. And if you ever want to hear magnificent music, come here. This choir is magnificent. And the liturgy, it's just beautiful. It's moving. It's moving to me. And I was away from the church for a long time, and then I came back. But at any rate, it was one of those days when they gave a commandment, love the Lord with all thy heart, thy soul, and all of that, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And then there was a lesson based on the Good Samaritan, which is about showing mercy to a stranger in need. And of course, this was when the 2016 election was under full swing, and I was hearing things all over the media that didn't sound like that. And I was sitting there and I was saying, Betsy, you got to do something. And I sit there at my age. Now I'm 74 years old. I know I can't believe it either. But May 1944, do the math, it's true. And when you get to this stage of life, you start thinking, what am I doing with the time? And you know that your tomorrows are a lot fewer than your yesterdays. And you start thinking, well, if I'm on my deathbed, what am I going to regret? I'm going to regret if I don't do something or say something that's important about something when it's needed. And so I was making a fair amount of money selling portraits and doing portraits of the rich and accomplished, which I enjoy. I like working with people. I had no problem with that. But it wasn't really making a statement. And here was this noise going on that bothered my sense of morality, my sense of what is right, and my sense of what America is. I grew up in a country where everything in this room prior to 2015 would have been a 4th of July celebration in just about any town hall in America. We celebrated immigrants because we are immigrants. Now let me just test that. Would everyone who's a full-blooded Algonquin please raise their hand? Cherokee, Sioux, Lenni Lenape, Apache. You're running for... okay, how about, let's see, I hit Cherokee. Pequot. Any Pequots here? Any Mohawks? Well, frankly, that sort of says it all. Everybody in this room is an immigrant. Okay, so my father told me that our people came over with William Penn. They were Quakers. Why did they come here? They were pushed out of England because of discrimination. There were problems. They weren't wanted. Most of the people who came to this country did so because of problems where they were. Whether it was famine, whether it was corruption, whether it was a king that hated them, where they were the wrong religion, they were the wrong whatever. That's why they came here and sought opportunity and built a country. It is these people who had hardship, who built this country. And so the question is that happening today? We're hearing, oh no, let's close them out, let's shut it all down, because, the good people came in the past. Well, do you ever read history? Were those great people who were lynching innocent people in the South? Were those great people who were in the gold rush digging and killing each other? You know what the Wild West was like? It was wild. This country needed civilizing. Not all those white guys that came here were wonderful. So, we have to say that the immigrants who came from everywhere in the world, the tired and the poor, built this country. Now, of course, there were issues, there were problems, there were other efforts, there were other times when immigrants were disliked, when a large number came in the 20s. We actually had the Ku Klux Klan walking in the streets of Washington. You can believe that. Oh, please, don't step into the painting. Actually, that's his portrait, but anyway. But the fact of the matter, this is who we are. What have we been hearing lately? We've been hearing, block these people, keep them out because they're all prisoners and they're drug dealers and they're all doing that. Well, now, is it possible that some bad actors got in? Of course. Is it possible that somebody who's in this MS-13 got in? Yeah, it's possible. But you know, I was in the news media for 20 years. I covered a lot of everything. I covered plane crashes, and the way I see it, what's being said now about immigrants is like saying, oh, we're going to ground all the planes because of that plane crash. We're going to keep all the planes out of the country because a plane crashed. And of course, when that happens, we know it's horrible. People die, and it gets massive coverage on the media. I covered one in Washington in 1977. It was 4 days. We were still bringing frozen bodies out of the Potomac River. It's horrible. But why don't we ground the planes? And the reason we don't is that because 8 million people landed safely that day, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before, and we know that air transportation is a good thing. Well, folks, it's time to balance the story. And the story is the immigrants are the 8 million people that landed safely that day and the day before and the day before and the day before that. And they are the people who built this country. I just decided that with my weird combination of talents, which, I was sitting again in the pew, and I was saying, well, what should I be doing? And one of the things, okay, do something, say something, so I can paint and I speak and write and all that. Well, put it all together and try to remind America of who we are. Try to remind America that we are all immigrants. Try to remind America that this is the beauty of this country. It's that strength, it's that resilience, it's that stamina that has done it. And how do you do it? Just go out and talk to the people who are immigrants today. And that's what I did. And I just started in my own neighborhood. I live in Long Island City. I speak to hundreds of immigrants a day. I certainly see hundreds when I'm running around on the subway. But I started over here with Eddie. Eddie, where are you? He's here, our poster boy. Eddie Rigo over there from Brazil. You've got to read his story, and you want to talk to him. He is darling. So Eddie ran a place called Cafina Espresso Bar, and that I had a 5-block commute from my loft into my studio, and as Cafina Espresso Bar was halfway there, well, of course, I had to go in and get my cappuccino every morning, and I got to know Eddie, and I said one day, where are you from? And he said, Brazil. I said, why'd you come here? Well, after his family owned a group of pizza parlors in Sao Paulo. And after the 8th bloody robbery, his parents retired and went into the safer countryside. But Eddie's a young man. He needs to work, and he likes the big city. So he goes online and decides, does anybody need a pizza man? And lo and behold, he comes to New York State. I won't tell you the rest of the story. You want to hear it from him, and you want to just read it over there. This man, well, now he's so hot, somebody in Brooklyn has got him starting some new place, and we've all got to go there. We've all got to go there some night. Anyway, so let's take some of the other people. Rika Singh, right here. Rika, there. Lovely woman. Her father, for education. Her father was the first man to leave his village in India. Came to become a veterinarian in Missouri. Comes by himself with the wife and the 2 little girls at that point are left with grandparents in the village in India. The mother comes 3 years later. He sends for her when he's finished that leg of the education. 3 more years later before Rika and her sister come, because of course then he's finished and got his veterinary degree and finally has a job. He wound up working with Banquet Foods, right? And then he lo and behold becomes the man in the United States Department of Agriculture who is inspecting all of our meat and making sure we have safe meat to eat, right? So, and Rika's story is lovely when you find out the sacrifices made for education and for seeing that the family does well. Lovely story. Now, Mio, who almost knocked into his portrait over here, Mio Thwei rolled into my neighborhood. Mio is from Burma. Now, we all know that it's called Myanmar these days. He calls it Burma still. We'll call it Burma. And he has this marvelous truck called Burmese Bites. It's his business. Read about what it was like when he first came here and is working first job. But he was trained as a mechanical engineer. But there were no jobs in Burma. Came over here to finish his education, is working, then finally works for the MTA, and then finds out the MTA is not equipped to hire to get the visas that you need to stay after you finished your education. And so he has to go out and get another job, and he's all over the place. But now finally he has his own business, and it's really good food, by the way. It's called Burmese Bites, and you come to Court Square, and it's always all the students and everybody are there waiting for it. But he's a good businessman. He started things here. Now, Lydia Lazovsky. Lydia, you're here. Down there, there's a marvel. How do I know Lydia? Lydia's over here. Her portrait is over there with the dog. That is our dog. That's because I know Lydia because she's from Ukraine, but she has a doggy daycare and grooming center. So I know her through Banjo. But let me tell you what happened in her family. When Lydia was a little girl, 7 years old, in Ukraine, her father was an economist and wrote something that the communist government didn't like. So they came and they told him, you have a choice. You can either go into insane asylum for the rest of your life, or you can leave the country. There was a slight problem with that because you couldn't leave the country if you were Ukrainian. The only people allowed to leave the country were Jews. So he had to divorce his wife, Lydia's mother, and he had to sell all his wife's jewels in order to divorce her, in order to pay for the passage and to pay the dowry to marry the Jewish woman who would be his transport out of the country. Tore the family apart. And there's a lot more to the story, but Lydia, of course, came here later. Read her story and how she has adapted and how, I said, what was your childhood like? Resilience. And she'll also tell you why it's easier to start a business over here than to do it in Kiev, where somebody comes around every week and says, you owe me money for protection. Those things happen. Richard Mazda. Richard's here. Richard Mazda, this marvelous man here. He had a thriving career acting in London. We do allow Brits in, by the way. Did you know that? Yeah. We have another one over here. But Richard, there was a family crisis. His daughter had been accepted into the most wonderful acting school in London, and somebody in the family had called and messed that up. And Richard goes to bat to get his daughter an audition at the School of the Arts over here. So they have like 3 days, and the principal of the school says, get her over here, give her a chance to audition. He says, okay, do it, learn something, you're going. And lo and behold, she gets accepted, and what people do for their children. And he adapted. Of course, he thought he had a job when he came over here, calls the agent up, and the agent says, I just retired. Richard has started Secret Theater, which is a wonderful cultural institution in this city. And in addition to that, he's the head of the Long Island City Arts Open Festival, doing wonderful things for the arts in our community. Now, is Diego here? I haven't seen Diego Salazar. Okay, well, we'll skip. Diego's story is wonderful. He's over on the wall, and he's the one who framed all of these paintings. He came here as the 15th child in his family. They were poor, as he said. And he came here with $2 in his pocket, and a friend got him a job as an apprentice in a picture frame factory, and he sent $15 a month home to his mother to pay off that ticket for many, many months, and later had his own picture frame factory and employed 40, 50 people. Of course, we're told that they all take jobs away. The man behind me, who is not here tonight, but his daughter is. Where's Teresa Lamb? Oh, there she is. And all grown up and well turned out too, working in the business. And his managing agent is here. Where's okay, Joanne? We're back there. Anyway, wonderful people. Read John Lamb's story. He didn't even have a high school education. He came here with his 7 brothers and sisters and his parents. They all pile in on their aunt in a little house in Long Island and realize 9 extra people's a lot. And he realizes instantly, I'm going to have to support the family. First thing he does, of course, is he goes into the kitchen in a Chinese restaurant, does dishes, and realizes after a week you can't do much that way, you're not going to get ahead. Well, read his story about going from the garment industry when he couldn't speak the language. He spoke Cantonese. They all speak Taishanese. That's another problem. And now he employs thousands of people. He's built like 30 hotels. He has the companies that manages 12 of them? Okay. Immigrants, they all take jobs away from us, right? Yeah. And then there's Perez Luxama, where I see your handsome face over there. Perez is on this wall in the center. Let me tell you about Perez is from Haiti. Perez's father's parents were assassinated by Papa Doc Duvalier, and his father fled the country. And then eventually came back when there was a government change. His mother worked for the Roman Catholic Church, and they had a priest, Aristide. When Aristide was deposed by a military coup, his mother disappeared. They didn't know where she was for months and months and months. Finally, they discovered she had been exiled by the military. She managed to make her way up to Brooklyn and then eventually get her children to Brooklyn, where, of course, these nice boys got beaten up because they didn't speak English. And so the tough kids thought they were stupid and just beat them up. Perez now is a teacher in a public junior high school here in New York City, in Brooklyn. He teaches math and science to kids, many of who don't know who their father, they don't have any relationship with a father. He dresses to teach the way he's depicted in that picture, to value an education, to teach these kids. And he is also a surrogate father to these kids. Shows them what a father is, what a teacher is, what education means. These are our immigrants, folks. This room is filled with today's immigrants. And I dare say the immigrants and the refugees today, well, he's a refugee, the refugees today, they're the same stories that we heard generations and generations past. They're just as good. This is what America is. I dare say this is what makes America great. You've heard that phrase, but we're not going to be political. Anyway, I want you to read the stories. I want you to reflect on the spiritual words that Father Turner gave us, and there's some more from leaders from different denominations, different faiths, even a few poets thrown in over there on one of the banners. And when you realize what all of these people have done, you'll realize there's an interesting good economic effect. Wherever you're welcoming, wherever you have trade, wherever you talk and meet with the world, things build and grow. Read the surprising facts about immigrants over on that banner over by the window. That's true. It's absolutely the truth. It comes from a nonpartisan research group. And finally, I would hope that you would sign my book. I would hope that you would take one of the bookmarks. They all have my email on it. Email's always the best way to reach me. We have a new website, portraitsofimmigrants.com. It's very easy. Please go there. That says a lot about this. If you can help me spread the word of what America really is, of love, kindness, welcoming, and understanding, to get more exhibits, to be in more places, I want to talk to you. That's really important. It's really important right now. This is just the beginning. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy. Enjoy.